in-depth analysis on national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Studios live, Mike's up. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here with us on Smooth 98.1, Smooth Breakfast with Valentine Ohu. It is time for us to go into detailed analysis of our newspaper headlines, newspaper stories this morning for Wednesday, 14th July 2021. I'm joined by Divo Korea. Good morning, Divo. Welcome.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Val. Yeah, me. The looting bug bites South Africa after leaving Nigeria since November.
Thank you so much. That highlight is not on the news today, but thank you for that
They
reference.
are
It's
brothers.
yeah, but I mean
It's
it's an
amazing.
interesting trend, eh? People
We can relate.
contesting the rule of law. Anyway, Oyemi, welcome.
Thank you,
So glad
Val.
to have you today.
Happy to see you. So, good morning, Lagos.
Good morning. Please send in your comments and observations on any story you have thoughts to share. Please share on WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's Smooth FM Lagos. Type that in the search box. Please subscribe and comment on the platform as well. Our first story, Devo. Senate passes Electoral Offences Commission bill. They passed this, the bill seeking to establish the Electoral Offences Commission, under which any candidate caught snatching ballot boxes or ballot materials during elections upon conviction is liable to 20 years imprisonment without option of fine. They have, in the details of the story, highlighted the need for some of the duties and responsibilities passed on to INEC previously to be handed over to other commissions or agencies, that INEC is saddled with so many responsibilities, more than they can handle. But what are your thoughts on some of the electoral, I'll say, offenses punishments or consequences that I highlighted?
Well, this bill actually, I will state my view at the end. It is a bill that has passed reading, okay, seeking would I say, upon INEC's admittance of its inability to check its porous system, and when we're talking about porous, we're speaking to the offenses that take place during the elections before and after. This bill was proposed to establish an electoral offenses commission, all right, who will take care of the prosecution of all the offenses that have been piling up. And INEC was only able to prosecute 1% out of the 900,000 alleged offenses between the 2011 and 15 election. Okay, the Senate was saying that this fact stresses the point. Okay, now some of the offenses which we are all well aware of, and their penalties. Like for example, for ballot snatching, you could be imprisoned up to 15 to 20 years. Okay, and for any electoral officer or party executive that is associated with fraud or some form of fraud, he could be subject to 5 years or about 10 million naira fine. Now, other offenses that come under the 15 years jail term include selling a voter's card, which we know takes place abundantly in many of the rural locations, which is where many of the numbers come from. You also have unauthorized printing of voters' register. All right, these are all electoral documents that people in the means of rigging adopt to be able to influence their position. Also, unauthorized printing of ballot papers, of which will also attract 15 years, and 15 years for any judicial or tribunal officer, even after the rigged elections. By the time they go for the tribunals, there's still hanky panky and horseplay going on. Now, my question, and this is my point: do we really need a commission for every crime? Because right now, what is happening is gross government inefficiency is being masked as bureaucracy. And what the Senate is saying is that, well, there's so many offenses that are undealt with. They were going to need some people to look into these things and prosecute those people. We have current laws. I would simply say pass these laws or update the laws and the penalties and pass them over to the police to do their jobs. Okay? If you remember at the time of the last election, when there were issues of security concerns, INEC was said, oh, they will not be able to conduct the elections because security concerns. Of course, INEC is not a security force. They expected the police to come in for them.
And it doesn't have legislative powers anyway.
Yes. So likewise in this case, if you have, by your own rules and guidelines, have identified people who have fallen short of the guidelines or laws, pass them over to the police to do the prosecution. I mean, currently, it goes without saying, our government cannot afford a larger government. We can't even afford the current. And you want to now add another one on top of what?
Yeah, but so I don't think the suggestion is to establish something new or fresh. I think the suggestion is to pass it on to the relevant authorities.
Yes, who can?
And not necessarily administer.
You don't have to create. The truth
the
is, I remember the time the
oversight
FCC was
or whatever.
created. Yeah.
It's not exactly for them to administer the oversight functions within themselves alone.
Yes.
But it talks more about collaboration with the existing
Yeah,
agencies.
but a commission is still being set up, and a commission means cost.
Aye.
That's
It means
how
budget.
is
It
just-
means
yeah.
operation. It needs staff. We'll start discussing that again. Come on. No.
But looking at my major question really is who's going to bail the cat? If you know that, first of all, I have the leash ready. There's a cat. You hand it over to someone to bail the cat, right?
As he said, there are existing bodies that can take. So you just need to reinforce the existing.
Enforcement.
all.
You reinforce the existing and then enforce.
Ask a question.
Right.
How come you have 900 cases pending?
All right.
That shows you that the judicial system had its own issues. So why not strengthen the judicial system, enhance it, so that it can not just carry out electoral offenses, carry out road rage, carry out all the other offenses that we know as Nigerians we live with.
Thank you so much for that. Let's take on this next story. Oyemi, Super TV CEO Chidima must not die in police custody. That's what the representatives.
Bagown.
1 second, Devo, please. That's what the House of Representatives have said to the Inspector General of Police, actually charging them to follow due process in the prosecution of Chidima Ojukwu, the suspected killer of the Chief Executive Officer, Osifo Ataga. What are your thoughts on this story?
I have many thoughts, but I think the primary thought that I have is it's not a media tour. It's not crime and investigation. It's not a reconstruction of a previous crime. We're talking about the murder of somebody. I don't care who it is. Someone has been murdered. So if she is a suspect, all this drama that you're creating, this week we saw a video where she recanted on her initial story.
I'm
It's
wondering
nobody's
why
business.
are
Go
we
through,
doing these interviews?
do the investigation. Come to your conclusions. Present your conclusion before the court. The court is the audience. It's not social media. It's not TV. It's not even Nigerian people. If you want to publicize the proceedings, that's different. But the court is the audience in this matter.
You're a lawyer,
Right.
Does it not have legal implications for you to actually?
It does.
you
It
know,
does. These
seek
things.
opinion that could act as a
impacts-
sub judice in
It
court.
impacts the delivery of justice. Let me just summarize it that way. Things like this impact the delivery of justice. And let's also there's a lot to assume in this case, right? There's a lot to assume. It's not every day that you see a 21-year-old caught in these kind of circumstances. It's clear that there might be unseen hands moving things. They're probably strong people that she can't mention, and she's a pawn in the hands of somebody. Someone did the crime. We would not know. None of us was there. We can't make any conclusions. We have authorized the police. We have authorized an investigation unit to go ahead, proceed with the investigation, end up with a conclusion and pursue it. Right? There's also the forum of the court to deliberate on that conclusion and see that it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that she is or whoever is involved is responsible for the man's death. These are the things that we do that undermine our justice system. The summary of this procedure should be: a man has died. These are the suspects for the murder. They have been charged to court in line with the law. The proceedings have gone in line with the law. The judge or the court has made a conclusion whether or not it has been proved beyond reasonable doubt that she's responsible or whoever it is has come through, right? And so the Senate's direction is key. Because what would typically happen in these kind of things, we just continue the drama, and then either the case will rest. We have so many unsolved cases like this.
It's going in that direction.
Yes, and then all of a sudden you hear a story, oh, something happened to Chidima, but you never just know. So we need to stop this. I mean, it was
Media
so
trial.
Charade.
it's so irritating to watch.
But shouldn't there be consequences to such media houses that grant such interviews?
No,
for
it's
cases
it's
that
it's
exist
it's
in the
not their
courts?
fault as long as the police have not done the right thing. Ask
It's the
yourself, why is
responsibility.
she out there
Exactly.
being able to speak? That's one. However, but I would like us to take a different angle to this. What I expect is that the police, okay, should be giving us information. Their investigation should be coming
Conclusions.
out as to
Exactly.
whether the Chidima is actually truly a murder suspect, because it's clear from her second narration that she wasn't the one, and I think many people had that doubt from the beginning as to what happened. So in most cases, when a suspect of such profile is under duress, they say things that didn't really happen, and now you start
It's
hearing the
models of
truth.
the case.
Yes. Now this is a high-profile case. Why are the reps interested? Why are we not all of a sudden hearing about the investigation into the culprits or
Yeah.
the murdered Ataga's lifestyle, business, etc. and co. But lest we become more of the media that have turned it into paparazzi. Police, do your job.
I mean, say media subjectively, because it's not every media that's the same. I personally abhor media trials and
But
things like
it's
that.
trending. If Twitter was still
It's
existing,
not
I
trending
mean
in my
it.
house. I'm just saying when I saw it, I
Oh
was
right,
irritated.
Val.
I think generally most people are really ticked
This
off
topic
by it.
has driven.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next very important issue here, especially speaking of health. Now, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, said that it has officially ended the country's first phase of COVID-19 vaccination, right? While so many people that I know have not even received the first dose. Oh, yeah, me. The other day, that was 2 days ago, the governor of Lagos State warned that everybody should be more cautious, reiterated the stringent measures taken to curb the spread by limiting numbers of public gatherings to 50 or less than 50, asking people to use face masks and such. What are your thoughts on this story before I get to the next
Well,
part?
I think that we have a very, I would, maybe I'll start from the negative and then move on to some of the positive trends that I've seen. I think that we must accept that we have a very poor record of vaccination, right? We haven't even scored 5% of our population. So there must be that urgency, right, in procuring.
Five is far. You
And
said
I'm trying. I'm.
1%.
That's why I said, at least if we reach 5, we can say, okay, we've done 5. Let's now move on. So we're in red zone. Because if there is any uptick globally, as we are seeing now, there's an uptick globally in different spaces, even in America, right? If there's any uptick globally, so long as our borders remain open and people coming, it means that we can be back at zone 1, where we had to go into lockdown. We're back with in congested hospitals and all of those things, and we need to really move away from that because there are serious economic consequences
Yes,
for us.
yes.
So we must run. Our goal must be, look, we're between the sea and the lion. We must not allow any of them to consume us, right? So we must find a middle ground to safely play, right? Get most of us vaccinated so that even if we're trading and people are coming in, but there are trends that I see. So we have about 4 million doses that have been consumed. We have about 35 million doses that are coming in between August and July, July and August, and we hope that more people will submit for vaccination. But there's also, they're tracking the trend of the impact of the vaccine, and that's what I like. So they say that at least 14,000 people had mild to mid reactionary responses to the vaccination, and then there were a few severes, but nobody died from the vaccination. I think that's
So
what
that's a
I
good
want
thing.
to amplify.
Yeah.
That nobody died, because on this side of town there's so many conspiracy
So
theories.
let's say, well, nobody died.
There's no record.
Nobody turned to magnet.
Yes.
Nobody's body is attracting
Exactly.
or lighting up bulbs.
Exactly.
Please.
And the truth about it is, for those who were vaccinated safely, they actually engaged doctors on how to engage, reactions to vaccine. What should I take? So that also recommended people should submit, for the vaccination, so that at least we now have supply. Before the deficit was supply, we just had a limited amount. But between August and the next quarter, we have at least 35 million doses of Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson, and AstraZeneca available.
Which is something that
so
we're
which is
hopeful
good
for.
because a couple of people are like, no, I don't like AstraZeneca. So now all the options are there.
There, yes.
And I think that we should avail ourselves of the opportunity. One thing I want to say is that they also need to make the vaccination process easier,
And more available.
and more available across board. But I like the fact they're tracking and we can see these things.
Solid points made. Thank you so much, Oyemi, for that. And it's also good to note that about 98% utilization was recorded on the 4 million doses we received.
Fantastic.
Of the Oxford
Yes.
AstraZeneca. We get vaccinated. We love it. Speaking of which, the Delta variant of the virus is contagious and possibly more severe than the SARS-CoV-2 virus stream. It was first identified in India, caused the presidential task force to implement the restriction of movement, or rather influx of people coming from those locations, especially India, Brazil, and some other areas. But Devo, which leads us to this next story. Now, this raises a serious concern, going against the governor's, or rather side by side with the governor's warning for everybody to adhere strictly to COVID protocols. Panic in Unilag as students contract COVID-19. When the university's vice chancellor, Oluwatoye Ogunnipe, was reached out to confirm for a confirmation, he neither confirmed nor denied. But it seems like that what is said is true. Meanwhile, the reporters have actually gone to interview some students on their experience and the panic that's ensuing in that school. What are your thoughts so far?
I think I saw this story last night, and I really wondered why it took media attention, because it's not as if we were not aware that the pandemic had not reduced, meaning there was less occurrences, and that's why the lockdown and restrictions were reduced. So to state that someone in Unilag was identified to have contracted coronavirus, I'm really wondering what's the big deal here. And even if it was the Delta variant, I mean, that has been on the spread in many nations.
It's a big
How
deal, though.
no. It's not a big deal, because you're bringing another dimension. Why are you highlighting this case? I mean, we're all aware of the procedures. If anybody has symptoms, you make your way either to your clinic, your hospital, or you take certain actions. Many offices, public areas, and places are well aware. So
Well, these are students. Do they have that capacity in that school?
I mean, that they do, because remember, it took a long while before NCDC, as well as the Ministry of Health and even state government, allowed some of these schools to open up if they had not proven that they had put in control measures in place to, one, minimize the spread, two, also deal with the issue if ever identified. But in this case, the VC, Ogundipe, has neither confirmed or denied, like it was reported, but that the university would take a position on it. However, sources did say that a second-year law student, female law student, was what had been known to have contracted it, and she was counseled before taken to an isolation center. Now, what has been said from many students is that many of the departments and faculties have increased their monitoring and compliance of the restrictions and protocols. That's the MPIs, wearing a face mask, use of hand sanitizer, washing the hands of coal.
And
Now,
social distancing.
and social distancing. Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu did threaten, like you mentioned recently, about anybody caught flouting or acting in means that would help spread this would be sanctioned by the government, because the third wave, which is the introduction of the Delta variant, is imminent in Nigeria. And there's been a 6% rise in positive cases at isolation centers within 1 week recently. As you know, this same university, Unilag, we lost one of our great luminaries. That was the former VC, Professor E.B. Dakwa Obe. That was on the 3rd of January. So, and at this point, like you mentioned, that many of the states are running out of the vaccine. It just simply calls for us to be abundantly cautious.
Yes.
But I am very wary, because I know Nigerians are sick and tired of the coronavirus because of its social implications.
As
and
with
its,
everybody else in
yes,
the world.
but I think because I know most people will not listen, as they say, we know the hear word. But maybe when some restrictions are handled by the government, I know it's going to be a tough call for the government, and also because of the social economic impact on people. But let's all keep alert and ensure that we maintain those precautions as much as possible.
Thank you for mentioning that, Devo, especially saying that people are sick and tired, because that was the case of India before the third wave, before they got this Delta variant. They got relaxed, they just felt sick and tired, stopped wearing face masks, and boom, people start dying. Stay tuned on Smooth Breakfast. Freshly Pressed 981 will be back after this.
Smooth breakfast. Where the breakfast now?
Huh?
Cup of
But do you
tea.
know that it's actually not
Krispy
Delta
Kreme.
variant that's actually causing the uptick. It's
Oh,
the
yes,
South,
it is.
South African.
No, where did
It's
you
a
get that
South
from?
African. I saw the stats myself.
South African variant.
It is.
It's fast.
15%.
It's more contagious. It's
so
more,
Delta variant currently is 1% record.
It's more.
What's it called? South African variant 15%.
Okay.
And you know we had lots
Go
of
back,
people
go back.
coming for TB Joshua.
Thank you so much for being here. The conversation is hot on Smooth Breakfast. I'm sure you can hear Yemi's voice. All the analysis goes down here. You can watch on YouTube live and leave a comment on that platform as well. Smooth 98.1, Freshly Pressed 981. Messages 0809 444 0981. Victor says, who will fund the proposed electoral agency? Yinka Bolu says, 20-year jail term for ballot box snatching. Should be a person where them see, they will catch. How many years for those that burn ballot boxes like it once happened in Okota? Electronic transmission will save us all the stress. I said this before.
And some have stuff against it.
Yakubu Israel says, to the lawyer in the house, what's the implication of her first and confessional statement vis-a-vis the Ataga's brother statement that she was not the only one?
Well, her statement, so long as there's no, so her she always has the option to speak, right? And it's the duty of the police to prove, right? Her confessional statement is whatever she makes, she can change it as she likes, right? Investigation is where the focus should be.
Yes.
You get, it's what is proved that is deliberated
It's a
on by the
burden
court.
of proof.
Yes, it's a burden of proof.
Evidence.
That's the court.
Thank you so much. Chioma says, in the proper setting, with all these charades and shenanigans on how the police is handling the late Ataga death, Chidima would have got scot-free, as there is no... There are so many interference with evidences and also despicable of the media trial. Abarami says, good morning, guys. This Chidima case is annoying. They even make her up. Oh my gosh, a prime suspect, Rico. It says most of the vaccines have expired because Nigerians refuse to get vaccinated. Can we say it's the federal government's fault? No. Shanu says the nonchalance among the population as to taking the vaccine or taking necessary safety precautions on COVID-19 is worrisome. Many people hold this highly unbelievable view that COVID-19 is not real, but it is. It's
Or that it's a scam.
No, but it's not.
No, I know. I'm saying that's what most people believe.
Yes, thank you. Shano also adds that it's like most of them think they have a spare life somewhere. Interesting. Speaking of which, some people thought she had a spare life. She was going to be coming back, like a cat with 9 lives, Loretta Onoche. The Senate on Tuesday said the nomination of Loretta Onoche, an aide to the President Buhari, was rejected because of her partisanship and breach of federal character principle. Really? Oh yeah, I'll say good morning.
Good.
Like, did they have to come to the Senate for them to make that decision or to know that she's
For
partisan?
me, so how do we? It goes back to the
They
point
didn't mention
that
partisanship.
Sorry?
It was on federal character, not partisanship.
No, they
They
said
mentioned
partisanship.
partisanship.
They did,
It was there.
but that's not. I even think those are weak. Like weak. I think
Divo, are you in her camp?
I don't think he is.
Okay.
But for me, I feel it again goes to what we're talking about, insulating these elections in 2023 from potential fires, right? Anything that can instigate problems.
Yes.
And this is one of them. You don't nominate any government that says that they are acting for, towards the progress, execution, seamless execution, would look at troublesome spots and say, you know what, avoid this spot, avoid this spot. We all know her record. We all know who she is.
Most people see her on Facebook.
No, I mean,
Singing
she's a
praises to
very...
government.
Because
she's
that's
a
her job.
media-
She's in the
she's a
media team. That's
she's
her
on the
job.
media team. It's her job, but I'm sorry she doesn't have the command of the office.
My own
There
question
is a command of the office
Yeah.
that a media representative of a federal government of Nigeria should display. And I honestly, in my personal opinion, I haven't seen her display that command of office, the respectableness of the office, all of those things. It's like we're always fighting tomato fight on Twitter with a government official.
Yes.
But let's leave that aside because those are sentiments. when you're looking at qualifications for an INEC commissioner, you want to avoid things like this because you want that person to be able to make objective conclusions about issues that arise in the course, because we rely on INEC commissioners for judgment.
Yes.
We're not rely, they're not statues that's
Yes.
supposed to be counting
Yes.
numbers.
That's supposed to be
That's what happens at the polls, right? Commissioners make judgment. They make objective judgment.
Fair and neutral.
Yes, and if you want someone to make an objective judgment, the person must be seen to have no stakes in the game.
That's right.
The person must be seen to be respectable, honorable, and to be accepted. There is a legitimacy that the person must have with the people. And honestly, even from the outcry, and it's not a partisan issue. It's the people crying out were not, say, opposition party. It was Nigerians in general saying this woman cannot represent, she cannot have the mandate as a commissioner representing us.
Yes.
Because we don't think that she would exercise objective judgment when issues arise. And I think that's what the Senate has made in terms of their conclusion. I think it's fair. For me, qualification is the first question. Is she qualified to be an INEC commissioner? Yes, no. That's what they found, right? Then you now have objective conclusions. Is she, given the circumstances, given the surrounding issues, given where we are as a nation, given the high stakes that are attached to 2023 elections, should she play that role? And I think their conclusion, I support their conclusion.
Why do we have to waste our time?
Yes, that's where I'm going.
Politics?
That this was a red herring. We were just chasing a headless chicken for nothing.
She shouldn't have been
Loretta Onoche is not our problem. We should be wary of the minds and the personalities that sponsored her for this nomination. That is where our problem lies.
So let's try our luck. Let's just see. Maybe this will fly or this will not fly. Why did he have
And
to get
it's
to
the
the Senate? It's
hypocrisy
even my
again.
question.
It's the hypocrisy that we see being displayed.
So, and Debo, somebody should have whispered into the president's ear, if not the Senate president, at least somebody in the chambers to say, "Oga, please, no, don't even try it."
I think we have ghosts in government.
Well, as the presidency would say, in the mouth of Barga Shehu and Femi Adesina, the president is entitled to his nominations.
All right, let's move on, please. Shanu from Ilukweju, thank you, guys. Shanu says the nonchalance. Okay, we've taken this earlier. And then please send in your messages with your names. Noel from Ikeja says, we look at things from the perspective of efficient use of lean resources. Will vaccines come close on the list of priorities for most Nigerians? Let's be honest, COVID is not a major problem. We should not spend borrowed funds in enriching foreign manufacturers. Cholera has killed most people in 2 months than COVID has done in 5. I don't know that metric is true, but then it says, what is a vaccine that does not guarantee immunization against the virus? All right, I'll stop here. No, thank you for your message, which really brings my mind to this story from the Guardian newspaper. Nigerians borrow to feed as food prices soar amid stagnated income. That's one of the major cries at the onset of COVID. Devo, people, the price of, did you see that picture of plantain being strapped in the front seat?
Yes, given extra special care.
You've become more important than the boots or than the trunk of the car. But real issues, right? Between 2016 and now, the price of major commodity food prices have doubled, more than doubled. But what are your thoughts on this story?
More than doubled. And what I would caption this is famine loading. I remember the last time we spoke about famine was in the 1980s when the artists from America were singing "We Are the World," and it seems as if we are headed in that direction, given the indicators that due to the insistent and protracted inflation, which is high prices, especially where it affects food, many families, those mostly hit by this in the low and middle income earners, are being forced to depend on loans, borrowings, families, and friends for sustenance. Okay, now what this means is, and from the indicator here, they said when Buhari came in 2015, inflation was about 9%. It's got into an all-time high of 18%, which is a 50% rise. A bag of rice that used to be 6,000 in 2015 is now 22,000. Bag of Gary that 3,000 is now 11,000. Remember, already Nigeria had a bad case of over 70 million people on poverty line, meaning they can't afford 1 meal per day. That's about a 500 naira per day. That's about 1/3 of our population. Now, with this insistent inflation, many more people are being pushed towards that line. I mean, we all know how people beg, ask, and these are problems that create structural problems and faults within our country. Nigeria is becoming a hungry nation, and the rabid inequality whereby a few people have all the money, and unfortunately they display that to the children of the masses, may find ourselves in a very dangerous position very, very soon. It's an indicator, but government better do whatever it can to reduce its size and plan a budget within our capacity. This is not even speaking to the debt management issue whereby 97 naira out of every 100 naira made goes to debt servicing. We
That's
are
right.
in soup.
Thank you for touching on that. And that's a scary situation there. Josephine says, Chinelo actually says, on the COVID-19 Delta variant, maybe the threat of another total lockdown will make Nigerians sit up and take the necessary precautions.
They won't
In
try
my
it.
office, where we have all resumed physically, said the precautions, we're taking necessary precautions, and we have all resumed physically, still think and say that COVID-19 is a mirage. Some people in corporate establishments are actually still believing that, which is even more damning. But stay with us on Smooth 98.1. Next up in our conversation for Lagos Talks 98.1, we'll have a special. I have guests coming to speak with me on sexual assault, things, behaviors that should ordinarily be seen as inappropriate in office spaces. We'll be discussing those things, and the phone line will be open for your questions, 014489981. Special thanks to Divo Okure and Oyemi Mano.
Thank you very much.
And Valentine Olu. Good morning.
But yes, Miss Prude.
Nice one.
I have a name now.